Welcome back to Just Ask George. Is there money out there? David Wolf, George Lovato, he knows the answer. That's why it's called Just Ask George. How are you?
I am good today. It's Friday, as we normally tape this. And
we love that.
You may be watching it on a Tuesday, but that's why we're happy, because we made the end of the week. And my co-dude, head dude, co-dude.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Dave Wolf, Howard Stern's principal competition on the internet for webcasting, don't you think?
Well, I like to think that I have some gravity somewhere online. Anyway, we're here to talk about something we haven't yet covered in the spectrum of facilities that BH Capital offers, he said. There's this thing called the MicroLoan, as we call it.
We call it the MicroLoan.
And George, this grew out of a need that you identified market-wise that was being created by the lack of activity around SBA and the hole that they typically fill. Talk to us a little bit about what the generation for BH, from your standpoint, why did you choose to create this product for small business people?
Our producer-director, the ever-famous, well-published Steve Garth, always watching the internet for the most current information, brought something to my attention, and it was an article and a follow-up blog on this huge gap out there left wide open by the SBA. Now, and listen, I'm not making any disparaging remarks about my friends at SBA, and they're out there to provide need, but the flip side of the coin is that there's a lot of big SBA loans getting done, being closed. But the problem, or the sweet spot that's wide open, is this $50,000 to $250,000 size loan that's just not being fulfilled. So if you're a shoe distributor and you need $100,000, SBA just doesn't seem responsive. And this was a study that was done in 2010 and completed in 2011. Okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, our 22, because we had 2 retire affiliates, came last year, and they said, look, you're sending us a ton of deal flow from the Opportunity Engine and all the internet marketing efforts that BH Capital is involved in, and a lot of this stuff is smaller. We're generating a lot of smaller stuff. Can't we go back to what you were doing in the 90s, which was we would actually look at the smaller transactions? And the whole theory around that was that eventually a $500,000 loan could become a $2.5 million transaction if that business did in fact grow in accordance with the plan and model that they had set forth. But the reason we got out of it, and we used to do a lot of SBA loan production, was SBA gradually changed, and then they started taking dim views on compensation, and they wanted to control that, and some of their standards and the requirements and the whole papering of the underwriting process was getting very cumbersome. And I had a lot of connections in SBA. In fact, my relationship at one point in time with Zia Bank, they were one of the largest producers just in this part of the United States of SBA loans. And it got to the point where it was cumbersome. It was very it's difficult to attack an underwriting process when sometimes the target was moving a little too fluidly. And so about that same time that I said no mas, and anything under $1 million we really stopped looking at, was about the same time the president of that bank came to me and said, what do we do with all these assets? And I said, just sell them. I said, just go ahead and sell them. And we made some connections, and they were able to monetize those loans, and all that profit fell into capital, which helped the bank ultimately. But that was kind of a two-phase cause and effect there, and we got away from it. The affiliates came back and said, look, these are people that could become, just like we said back in the 90s, that could become larger transactions. So what could we do? So we test marketed the microloan. We call it the microloan. We have a standard engagement, and we've already talked about how that works, so on and so forth. What our retainers range from, $25,000 up to $200,000, and it's one of those issues where we say, all right, let's just look at this from a credit standpoint, and let's drill down into the credit, make sure there's capacity, and if they meet a certain criteria, credit score 640, 680 minimum, there's secondary credit, i.e. there's another partner or someone else behind that lead applicant. That's great. They're going to have capacity for repayment. We're going to take a quick look at their financial statements and tax returns and see if they sort of fit that profile.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's, and I know the word micro, when you start talking about $1 million,
well, you think
and
about
under,
micro lenders.
You think about the little $2,500 loan,
right?
But that's just what we call the product.
Well, relative to the standard, more
it is micro compared to the average size deal we look at.
And just to sort of retrace a little bit, George, you're now kind of moving into what the client should be is going to need to qualify to work with us under this, but. We have this standard program. We have this what we call the micro. But what you've done is you've really streamlined and standardized it, because you're not going to come in the consultative, robust way that you typically would.
No.
So it's important for listeners to know that this is more of like it's like the Southwest Airlines 737 of BH Capital.
And that's what we say
streamlined.
is, look, we're going to give you a very straightforward and simple doc request. You've got to be able to, check mark each one of those documents that we do request.
Yeah, it's about a dozen items,
right?
So they know.
And we guarantee that we will contact out of our participant Rolodex anywhere from 3 to 9. Now, what we also did, which was real unique, is we said, all right, let's break this down into different types of credit facilities, because the next question is, well, then what is it?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, it can range from equipment leasing to asset-based lending to PO financing to contract financing to factoring. It can involve term loans, small real estate transactions, and everybody out there uses the word bridge inappropriately most of the time. We'll look at short-term gap financing where it might be an involved real estate, the sale of one property and the purchase of another on a commercial basis.
Okay.
And we'll also look at small mining deals, small energy deals, financing. We're looking at one project right now, which is some gold some tailings from gold mining.
Yeah.
And the guy needs $250,000, and everything that we've seen, he's got the credit. The tailings are real. There's gold in there.
There's gold in there. You've got the geos to show
mountains.
Yeah, yeah.
And in this case, a little pile. And he's got a partner who has some very strong net worth. So.
Sure.
We'll kind of look at that little avant-garde stuff once in a while.
All right.
But anything under $1 million, kind of in those general categories, manufacturing, inventory financing, those sorts of things, unsecured notes, if you're really strong.
From a credit standpoint.
Yeah, credit, and you really do have to have net worth. If you're going to go borrow $100,000, you better have some. You can't be worth 10.
As a banker, you have to know
credit
your
score of 800 and my net worth's 10,000. But lend me 100. So
doesn't work. The math, there's something wrong with the math.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Now, here's the funny thing: after we put the resources together. Talked to all the participants, got their commitments, that we actually increased our 2012 budget because of the microloan. Okay.
Bueno.
Then we said in November to everybody, okay, we've given this 6 months. We've what we felt was we've flattened out the bumpy parts and we've got a system down.
Yep.
We were able to streamline the application process directly with the resources and the participants. Right. Then in November we said, okay guys, it's ready. Now, here's what happened. There was a sudden avalanche and we got waist high in it, and we said, hey, not everything's a micro.
Well, right. And you have, as a business owner in BH Capital, you have to consider economies of scale as well and all of this, which I'm sure is part of it.
And so the way it works is applicant pays $2,750.
Right.
We get our standard 4% on the back of the transaction.
The success fee portion of the deal.
Right. And that there's a small expense advance included in the $2,750. And in the in the agreement it says we're going to send it out to 3 or 9 resources, depending on what it is. And then
it sounds like a range, but the reason is it's not about quantity. It's just about what is the nature of the participant we need to bring in.
Right. And off to the races they go. There's no analytical work. There's no assistance on balance sheet treatments, presentations, financial statements, no white papering, no valuations, no need and necessities, nothing.
It's out.
All of that's out of there. This is simply a credit-based application. Now, one affiliate said the other day, which was actually pretty funny, he's got 6 or 8 in the pipeline right now, and he made the comment, we could just make this a business out of this. And I said, no, you're not. And the reason is we don't want our entire budget taken up by $500,000 transactions or $250,000.
Well, there goes the economies of scale question for you, right?
There's a limit to how much of this we can process.
So for listeners knowing, and they're going to approach us about this below $1 million facility, just understand that there are limits to the number of these we'll do on an annualized budget.
Right, exactly. Okay. So it's been very successful. And we've had a great response. The finance resources love it.
They do. What is it that when you say that?
It does complement that first statement I made, that they can see that this client coming in, this borrower coming in, is actually got the potential to become a bigger client later on.
Sure.
And so it's going to be a longer term relationship. So it's kind of new for them because they're not since the 90s were we in that space. And the participants are having a really, really good experience with it. The affiliates are having a good experience all the way around, from their standard CFCA production all the way to the microloan.
And I can say, I closed one right after you released it, shortly after that, recently. And there is a lot. I mean, I can just tell you, there are a lot of people that are in that below $1 million where this product is applies to the way they want to do this.
Right. And
for whatever reason.
And it's client dependent. We send them the doc request. It's up to them to get it back. And we've got a huge spreadsheet right now with all the micro deals in there, along with our regular dashboard that we monitor everything else.
Right.
But we're getting the system down so that it's efficient for the client, it's efficient for the affiliate, and of course for us. We're having fun with it. We're just having a ball.
George, for the listener, is the question I get asked: how long does it take? And I know it's client dependent with our robust, standardized program. Does the same apply for the micro?
One transaction was closed in and it was a real simple application process, and the request was real simple.
Okay.
So that was about 4 weeks start to finish.
Okay.
Which, sometimes they're going to, like an equipment leasing deal is going to take longer. You got to do due diligence on asset-based lending and what those assets are like and their performance.
Yeah.
Those things are going to definitely take longer.
There is some diligence in there. All right. So we were going to ask, where does this go from here? What's the future look like for the micro idea?
As of today, we're going to keep it on the books permanently. We do like what we're seeing. We're getting good client quality. It's filling a request that our family of affiliates want. They're behind it. And so we're going to leave it on the books.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I don't anticipate anytime soon cutting the budget back on saying, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're having a good experience with it.
So we're sitting here together in 2012. If you have a business need in terms of funding and it's below $1 million, this may be something that you want to look at. Call us at or contact us through BH Capital, www.bhcapitalltd.com.
See how that rolls off your tongue? You're just so, I tell you.
And I have a good face for radio.
You told me I do too. I like that. I'm going to use that line.
Right, exactly. It's nice to know that people could listen and actually turn off the screen if they choose.
You guys can go, answer
good.
Email and do all that stuff.
The content's good. I don't know about the visual skills.
Exactly.
George, anything else in closing?
No. Again, another good show. And to those listening out there, we're real excited about looking at the next application. And from the BH Capital website, bhcapitalltd.com, there's a fast track application designed exclusively around this. So
good. There it is. The soft sell from
there
head dude and the assistant head dude.
And co-dude.
We'll see you next time. See, there is money out there, even if it's below $1 million. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.